All right, thanks, Scott. All right, thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello, Andy.
Hey, Steve. Hi, Scott. Hi, everybody.
Welcome back from a long weekend. Public service announcement, just a reminder that our afternoon webinars are staggered now. We have Monday, Wednesday last week, and this week we're doing Tuesday, Thursday. Same people, same days, same format. We'll be back to Monday, Wednesday next week. So if you're wondering where we were last week, it's kind of a new format. Less is more. All right, let's get into it. Trade of the week. Welcome, everybody. Disclaimer, just a reminder that Andy and I are a long-time user of trade ideas. We have our own accounts that we trade and then some. But what we talk about here and the ideas we talk about really are our own opinions. None of this really should be considered official investment financial advice. If you need that for your own customized, tailored needs for you and your family, you got to seek out the professionals who took all the licensing exams to be called official. So it's official. We're not official. All right, so just a quick reminder, Mondays and Wednesdays, let's just illustrate that. Mondays and Wednesdays is the alternate week, and then we have Tuesdays and Thursdays coming up. So a lot of ways in which we can help you guys get onboarded and learn about the system. It's a very rich platform. It's not something that's really learned overnight. It does take, a week or two to kind of really get familiar with how to speak to the program and have it deliver what you want in this fire hose of data that we call the market with 8,000 symbols running up and down all day long. But beyond that, really the daily support session and Barry's live trading room are invaluable, especially Barry. He was born for this job and he just keeps on doing it very well. And he rivals a lot of paid subscription rooms out there. It's free. You don't have to have a subscription to Trade Ideas. It's free. Anybody can stop by at any time during the market. And then, of course, the daily support session, we give Barry a break. One of the 5 of us or 6 of us around here will take over the live stream over on the YouTube feed. And we give a different color of what's going on in the market. But most importantly, we're sending people into the live support session from our support chat or our emails, and letting you know that telephone is not really always a great place to figure out how to do something in the program. Visuals work the best. And so the daily noon Eastern live support session, we call it, is a great time to pull up a chair and ask questions and get demonstrations on how to use the product to your liking. And as you can see, that is the URL you want to use. It'll redirect you to the live stream of YouTube. And of course, once you've watched it once, YouTube knows that you like us and they'll serve it up to you on your dashboard for YouTube every day at noon Eastern. And I will be there tomorrow, as a matter of fact, and Andy will be there on Friday. All right, so the theme, that's always going to be the theme. It's probably never going to change because it's so relevant. Humans and machines are the best symbiotic relationship. A human without a machine or a machine without a human is just not as effective as the curation of the algorithms and machines giving us the data we want to see and then letting us decide how to manage it. Nothing really it's a great example every day when we talk about the AI, whether conservative mode or moderate mode. Conservative mode is letting the AI exit for you, but that's really relying only on the AI to do everything for you, and it's not as fruitful as we've seen as the moderate mode, which allows you to determine the exit strategy, which, by the way, if you don't have an exit strategy, the machine will get you out 10 minutes to the close if you're in official moderate mode and you're trading automated. But if you're just looking for ideas, the real value of the AI is in the real-time idea generation for the stock symbol and the entry price. And as we go through, we can show you some better examples on how to manage your trades. But if you don't want to do that, then conservative mode is for you. But I'm telling you, human and machine are the best, the most powerful combination. All right, so agenda for today, kind of holding true with what we usually do here. I'll talk about some market observations that I see up to date. Andy will take a look at the AI and see what stands out to him. And we've got 2 trade of the weeks now. As I mentioned, we're going alternating format, so it gives us a bit more to talk about and a bit more data to go back and parse through and see how these trades are evolving. So we're going to look at last week, which was LTHM, and this week, which got off on a pretty good start, DSX, Diana Shipping. Then we'll go and take a look at the sectors And then I've got some ideas for a scan that we'll probably take a look and set some price alerts for, and that is shareable. We can share that cloud link out at the end. So when I get to that section, you don't need to follow along. You can just kind of absorb what I'm saying, and I'll share the price alert window using the cloud link at the end of that segment. So everybody that wants it can accept it and have the same alerts going off tomorrow. And then as usual, we like to finish off with what you guys want to look at, chart requests. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. We won't hold back. We'll give you our unbiased opinion on those. All right, so we'll get back to that in a moment, and save that. And let's go right into the first segment that we called, as I said, market recap. And the market recap is reminding us to not fight the Federal Reserve, the FOMC. They seem to have a pretty good bid under this market. And in doing so, we've developed a sloppily drawn there, but a pretty good channel for the most part. You know, as you can just see, we're just kind of bouncing in this channel. You know, Michael showed this today, and I think it's worth noting. I mean, when we look at time frame weekly, wow. I mean, that is just, that's hard to fight, you know, but the trick is to be in the right stuff. But that is just that's probably the most solid lower left, upper right weekly chart I've ever seen in my life. And that's the market we have to trade. And so that's the market we got to work with. Let's go back to time frame here, daily. And again, I mentioned to the guys today, we had a couple of red ticks coming in. You know what happens when we get up here at the upper end of this channel? The air gets real thin. And what I mean by that is it becomes a stock picker's market. Things don't really follow through for 2 or 3 days at a time. They just stay really choppy. And being that the algorithms run this market and quant funds run this market, they like to have a target. And those of you that know me know I love to use the 10 SMA as a primary momentum indicator. I like to use the 20 SMA as the backstop, we call it. And as it's been, you know, the 50 SMA has been kind of winding up holding the bottom end of our channel here. But I mentioned to the guys today on the open, we got some red ticks, and I said, you know, these algorithms, they like to have waypoints, they like to have targets to hit. We're probably going to go down there and hit 450, 70-ish, and wouldn't you know it, you know, looking at the intraday, that's about it, 450, 70 and change. Right about there is when the algorithms, I think, take a look at the daily 10 SMA and the bids start to pile back in. But staying in the intraday here, you know, it's nothing to get concerned about. But, you know, the other blue line that I have here is the 5-day rolling average using 15-minute candles, which means I've essentially assigned this, and I'll show you this indicator, a 130 period. 130 candles works out to be perfectly 5 days of 15-minute candles. So it kind of gives us a different perspective on how to use that. And you can see last week, support kind of came in there at that 130 line, or the 5-day, whatever you want to call it, whereas today we're kind of underneath it. So just in the micro scope of things, we couldn't get back above the rolling 5-day average. I thought that was kind of noteworthy, so we'll mention that as well. But you know, all systems are still very bullish on the daily chart. If we do give up the 10 tomorrow or the next day, I think the backstop of the 20 definitely comes into play. And it's just how it's been, you know, there's really not much else to say. But again, we're up here in thin air. This sideways consolidation is constructive. We very well could bounce right off of that. And maybe the Fed governor finds a microphone tomorrow and gives us reason to do that. The NASDAQ QQQ ETF continues to be the leadership ETF. A bit stronger today, didn't even get near its 10-period moving average, but what I see there is just working off a little of consolidation and working off that move that we've had over the last 2 weeks. But, you know, I mean, you can pretty much look at Apple and just determine that Apple is probably one of the more heavily weighted stocks, you know, along with Microsoft and Google and Amazon and whatnot. They literally make up 20% of the S&P. I don't know about the NASDAQ, but that's where the interest is. The fund managers just keep getting piles of 401k cash to put somewhere, and they're likely just putting it into those names. But that's the deal. I did notice the IWM, for those who like to trade over the counter stocks, had a really nice couple of weeks there, moving off the 50. That was the day which it reclaimed the 50-day moving average after being rejected many times. So if you've been playing some of the over-the-counter stocks, the small caps, they've probably been doing a little better. But as you get ahead of yourself with a lot of green candles, sometimes you have to give a little bit back. Keep an eye on our 10 SMA tomorrow on the IWM, the Russell 2000. They might wind up showing some support there, kind of like what happened today in the spiders. Somebody mentioning Netflix there. Yeah, Netflix is also heavily weighted
Yep.
in our ETFs, in our indexes, I should say. Yeah. So that's the story. I'm sticking to it. Don't fight the Fed. Whenever the market does roll over and lose 3 or 4%, one of those governors finds themselves a microphone and talks everybody off the ledge into buying stocks again. It's not the most ideal market, but that's the market we have to work with. And it really does require a stock picker market, because some days, I look down at my S&P 500 and I see this all day long, low, 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 one high, low, 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 but lo and behold, the market just continues to elevate for whatever reason. All right, anything you want to add to that diatribe, Andy?
No, except for one thing. I was just noticing these SPY charts. Look at the last 3 or 4, pullbacks down to the 50 or close to. They all happen right in the middle of the month. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's just like you get right there, and I think you zoom back and you'll even see it again.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's zoom back a little. Nope. Let's zoom back a little bit. There's mid-month again.
Yeah.
Mid-month blues. We're gonna
exactly. Keep an eye. Yeah, keep an eye on that.
Mid-month blues, and there's another one here in March. Interesting. Well,
we'll see what happens. So maybe you have another good week of trading, and then we get another pullback.
We'll see what happens. This market has definitely been kind of clockwork if you look at it in that respect. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. That's about it. So, yeah. Otherwise, you hit it. Yeah. Let me grab it real quick and change presenter. And yeah, not a lot to talk about today. Holly has been hit or miss, but I will say this: on a few of those hit days, she's been hitting really well. What was assembled a couple of days ago, Steve? A couple of trading days ago.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, the one that was halted. I can't recall. You'd have to go to history to see.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm not going to do it, but it was a huge move. What? I was in the stock, man. It's RAAS. Was a beauty from Holly back on this day right here.
It's consolidating now.
I'm back in it. Yeah, I had a nice day, and then I'm back in it. I was kind of disappointed with the day, but oh well, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe need some more consolidation. But anyway, yeah, guys, I am not going to try to put a lot of lipstick on this. I mean, it wasn't a horrendous day. You had about 9 trades, it looks like. About half of them were green and moderate. A lot of flats in the conservative mode. And then, of course, you had some, about half of them a couple of them hit their stop price, and these got out for reduced risk. So in conservative mode, it was down slightly. You can see the chart over here. But just remember, guys, what we're working with right now, the SPYs, gap down day, like Steve was saying, could not get above that 5-day moving average. As you can see, it's red on my screen. So just not a lot going on today. Makes it hard for any algo that you might be running, and same with Holly. You just didn't get any follow through to the shorts or the longs. This one was, I'm not even going to brag on this one because I imagine this was pretty quick. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I see those volume bars like that. I don't know if someone would have been able to get that. So other than that, I'm not gonna go through these, guys. I'm just gonna let you know that maybe there's days when you see the volume and those good setups like that RAAS. Those are the kind of things I'm looking for when I'm playing Holly during this kind of sluggish period. And it could go on for a while. I mean, a lot of people come back after Labor Day and think, oh boy, the market's going to be fired up now. For me, it seems like it usually takes about a week or two for everybody to settle in and things get to happening, but we'll see. So, All right, Steve, I'm going to shoot it back to you.
All right. And Ignacio, I saw your question earlier, and I'm going to answer it here, and I'm going to use one of the AI calls. And the question is, well, how do we know how to manage these trades in moderate mode? And I told you, I typed you privately, I said, well, we have some risk management methods, and the one that I preach and bang the table on every week is using the 10-period simple moving average on a 15-minute chart. And if we use that, we usually can see when the momentum has died. And so in this case, the AI is suggesting this is a stop. And I'm saying, no, don't use that. Get yourself a 15-minute chart and put a 10 simple moving average on it. And the first candle to close underneath that rising line, that's why I call it the momentum line. Once a candle closes, not trades for 2 minutes, but closes and draws itself and finishes and moves on to the next candle, below that line, if it's a long in this case, that signals to me that the momentum has died. And in this particular case right here, you really didn't do much better than just getting out right there. So this is the method that I use to take profits. It's the method I use to when things aren't going my way on a 15-minute time frame. Just be aware and start paying attention to how many times, if you look back in the history, that one candle that closed under the moving average usually, not always, but usually signaled that the momentum was dying, and it was probably a good reason to get out before more damage can get done. So to keep it simple, Ignacio, that's for you and anybody else that wants to know, maybe a simple way to use moderate mode and manage any trade, whether it's your own trade or an AI trade. I especially use this after I'm itching to take a profit, because we all want to try and stay in the trade as long as we can, let our profits run, and we get mad at ourselves if we get out too soon. Which brings up another point: you can always sell half if that's how you're feeling. But once a trade, and once I'm itching to take a profit and book the profit, I wait for the first closing candle under the rising 10 SMA on a 15-minute chart, and that has worked very well for me over the years. All right. So as I said earlier, we have 2 trade of the weeks to work from this time, and we'll start with last week's lithium, but it's called Livent Corporation, but I call it lithium because I like to give stocks pet names. And let's go back in the time machine here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it was actually this day right there. That's what LTHM looked like to me going into the weekend, and it became the trade of the week. The electric vehicles, this is a battery, producer of lithium, I believe, and it's a component of the electric vehicle market. But more importantly, it had a pretty good short float, and sometimes these trade of the weeks, they look for a short squeeze. I think it was found on the A table scan, which is down here. And it was just setting up nicely after a big push, a gap that wasn't filled, kind of came down and got close to the backstop. And, just for the sake of it, it was kind of consolidating right there. So what happened was the very next day, we got a trigger, and it gapped up and triggered, and then it kind of started playing games with us. But look at what it did, just like I was talking about the S&P 500 today. The algorithms found their footing right there at the 10-day moving average, and the bids came back in. Another test the following day of the 10-day moving average in a nice green candle. And then it pretty much gave us the double middle finger here. Wasn't fun, but this is what I'm talking about when I say the air is thin up here. In the general market, it's not a runaway bull market full of breadth with everything rising tide. It's very selective, and things get ahead of themselves very quickly, and they find reasons to retreat. And that's what LTHM did on that day. But the management of the trade, officially, if we go to the content, there it is. The management of this trade was to not let the price again close under the rising 20-day moving average, which I refer to as the backstop. So let's move forward. Okay, well, it gave us a little bit of a touch there on the backstop, and then that was it. That's the worst it pretty much got. And here we are today. So it's creeping higher. This thing is creeping higher, and it's kind of what we expect in this thin air market that I'll allude to once again, the broader S&P. I feel like this is still in play, and I feel like we're just a day or two away from this thing really having a good day. And that being said, with the double middle finger there on those 2 giant pullback wicks, if this thing does have a really good day, you're probably wise taking at least half off the table, into strength, and then letting the second half see what it can do. But again, our risk management is getting pretty tight here. Any close under that moving average, and we're out. That is the best we can get. So we're trying to ride this and get as much out of it as we possibly can. Still kind of using that same methodology, but in this case, we're using the 20-day moving average and not letting it close below. That will signify to us that it's just getting too choppy and it's not ready. But to me, this thing is still grinding higher, and it could be a day or two away from a really fantastic day. Maybe those 15% short. It's kind of a decent float, 160 million, and we wouldn't call it a low float, but all it can take is just one good day with some good volume. Speaking of good volume, we move into this week. Now this week, as I said, there was no scan that we can point to that said, hey, we want to put this on our radar. This was really more of just observations of like TK and some other shipping companies. They had some really good movement, and I know from experience that DSX, Diana Shipping is a part of that. And so it was, let's do time machine, there we go. That is something you should imprint on. That is just a beautiful consolidation, all right? Just winding itself, painting itself into a nice triangle, flag, pennant, corner, whatever you want to call it, respecting the 10-day moving average. This is what it looked like going into the weekend. So, it was fortunate that at some point today, let's shift to the intraday. Again, mentioning in the content, when we have a stock that gaps up, sometimes the idea is to not chase a gap up, but maybe wait and see if it comes back and if we can get a better average. And this is a good example today of me kind of practicing what I preach. On the open, we had some data issues and support was a bit crazy and things were really happening quickly. And before I looked over, Diana Shipping was looking like that. And I'm not going to chase something that's that high above. I think our signal line was pretty much there, 511. So as I've said in the past, when stocks either get away from you, don't chase them, or if they gap up, definitely don't chase them. Wait and see what happens if the price comes back, and you can see my buy tag right there in my other account mirroring this trade was right at the 10 SMA. Now, it gave us a little craziness here, and this is why I'm going to affectionately call this one Dirty Diana, to quote the old Michael Jackson song. This thing got a little dirty on the open, and then we got lucky. Some news came out. Basically, they're going to need a bigger boat, and they're adding to their fleet, I believe. And the news algos got a hold of it and then pulled it back, and it just kind of grinded for the rest of the session. I don't know if this after hours print is a one-off or it's really trading up that way, but this thing is really doing well. Here we go. Respecting our 10-period moving average. I expect a little follow through tomorrow, pretty much based on that giant volume candle. That is just sticking out like a sore thumb. Somebody saw something, somebody liked something, and usually when we have a big green bar like that with a giant volume candle, hopefully there'll be some follow through tomorrow. I believe in this case, the risk management on this one, keeping it a little tighter. Do not let the price of DSX close under the rising 10-day moving average. I'm not even giving the backstop of the 20 a look because that's a pretty big distance. It's been holding. The shippers, as I said, the genesis of this trade was a sector play. Where Dirty Diana Shipping was kind of lagging, and it definitely found its breath and caught up today. So hopefully we see some follow through tomorrow. I will say if we see some really strong follow through, please be aware that the sellers are probably, look at that actually, that you can see the high of today really corresponded back here. But if we do get a push higher above that congestion tomorrow, you might want to take a third or a half off and lock in some profits and just let the moving average, dictate the rest of the trade. So there is an update on the trade of the week. I feel like we got a good one today after a couple of soggy ones last month, but the last two are in play and working. Anything you want to add to all that, Andy?
No, I'm sorry. I was answering I was halfway listening, but I was answering a question over here.
All right.
No, I love the volume today. It looks like they got another boat. So,
Bigger boat.
yeah, bigger boat. So we'll see how that plays out. I definitely believe if you continue to see strength in the shippers, you'll have a nice move there because there was definitely some relative strength in this one today because all the rest of them came back to flat or were negative on the day. So you always like to see that if you're in a sector stock and the rest of the sector is overperforming the rest of the sector, and that's what you saw today in Dirty Diana.
And if you ever want to see who the other players are, you can take any stock and go to our single stock window here and find the similars. And you can go through, and a lot of these are very similar. There's TK, I mentioned TK, this PANL, look at that thing. That thing's been running. There's TK. So
GNK is a good one, yeah.
GNK is also another good one. So similar, don't forget to use the similar tab in our single stock window, guys, to really kind of get a feel for who's who in the sector game. All right, let's line this back up and see where we go next here on our curriculum. What are we going to do next? Okay, so yeah, it's been 2 weeks since we've looked at the sectors. When I go through the sectors, guys, I go through them pretty quickly, but usually I can find 2, maybe 3 sectors that I can tell you to definitively watch tomorrow. And again, go back and maybe pull up one of the leaders in that sector and use the similar tab and keep an eye on who's who. So let's start here. It looks like China seems to have had a good day. And the first thing I notice on this daily chart is they're running right smack into a declining 50, so that thing's probably going to run out of gas. I'm looking for things that are consolidating and looking good. I'm more China, broker dealers, bit of a pullback to the backstop there, but not really enough to write home. Look at the 50-day moving average. It's just really encapsulated the airlines. The airlines, I bet you a lot of stocks within there like Love. There you go. They just can't get back above their respective declining 50-day moving average. JetBlue. So back to the sector, airlines a bit under pressure here, but if they do post a close above the 50, that could be a green light for them. Well, this is interesting. iDrive. So this is the self-driving EV and tech. So I like this. I like the consolidation. Popped up sideways, 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 just waiting for the moving averages to come and force the issue. I'll say that's probably something to keep an eye on this week. Self-driving cars, LiDAR technology, and electric vehicles make up that one. NASDAQ, we've done that. Technology, pretty much the same as NASDAQ, but look, that's a pretty nice look at the technology ETF there. Tech stocks might want to emerge from this range tomorrow. The banks looking a little drippy there, back into the range. The semis look strong. Let's go ahead and define the fact that the semis might be ready for, a subcategory of the technology. The semiconductors might be ready. So far, we've got the EV and semiconductors on the board. Healthy, definitely healthy over there in biotech land, but I don't really like to play biotechs because they can surprise you to the wrong side. Oil service is definitely under pressure. Didn't like the 50 and now it doesn't like the 200. It's just dropping back into the zone there. Another bank stock looking a little heavy. Financials are probably going to look heavy too. Energy. All right, energy's consolidating, but it really needs a nice close above that declining 50-day moving average. We've seen a lot of stocks that have a nice move, but they just run into a brick wall on individual names right at the declining 50. There's a lot of those charts out there, which would make sense because the market breadth is pretty weak. A majority of stocks, I think, are still under their 50-day moving average as the big guys drive the stock higher, the index higher, I'm sorry. Healthcare, strong. Looks like that backstop I used, the 20-day moving average, just keeps popping into play there. Definitely strong. IWM, we spoke about that. The Dow, nobody cares about the Dow anymore. Steel was looking good for a while, a month ago, but now it's just dropping back into the twisted, mangled mess of moving averages. Okay, so treasuries are interesting. Whatever you want to make of this, I noticed this today. The treasuries are making a move here. Could portend higher interest rates. I don't know, but they've dropped out of that wedge. So for whatever reason, bonds, the pricing of bonds has kind of dropped out of a significant technical wedge there. Software definitely got ahead of itself, looking to consolidate in software land. Agriculture, nothing special. Commercial real estate, I guess it's just property values going up, but the IYR is taking a bit of a breather after a pretty strong week last week. Retail is not looking good. Retail does not. Stay away from retail stocks. Marissa talking about in the meeting today. Are there things we can tell people to stay away from, Steve? Well, sometimes we look at sectors and we can say, probably not a good idea to get excited about retail stocks right now. And we're approaching the bottom of the barrel down here. Solars still have some work to do. Gold and silver gave back a lot today with the dollar popping up. Same with the juniors and the home builders. Well, the home builders were looking okay, but they threw in kind of an ugly candle. So to recap, I really like the self-driving cars, EV technology, and I really like semiconductors. And I think you can literally just throw in tech in general there as well. So I think that's the 3 takeaway sectors I would keep an eye on going into tomorrow. All right. So what we want to do next is I've cleaned out my price alerts. All right, they're empty. And in keeping with the theme of it's a thin air market up here, the air is thin, I'm going to pull out and look at revenue growth fishing, one of Andy's scans that really does come the closest we can to trying to look for stocks that are having rounded bottoms and a possible trend change. So we'll start with those. And just like I kind of did in the sector, I'm going to go through them quickly and I'll stop on the ones that I like and mark them up. Okay, so this one, really strong all day long. That's a very strong candle. You know, it's not something I'm going to chase. So let's look at the next one. This one I kind of like a little bit more. I didn't really get away from it, so I'm going to put an alert above today's high on this LEXX right there. Create a price alert. That'll become our first alert. I really like the consolidation and then the gap up with a pretty good chunk of volume today. I think there could be some follow through and some meat on the bone, maybe up to 8 tomorrow, but we'll mark that one up. Nope, that's a middle finger. We don't want that chart. This isn't bad, but it's going to run right smack into that declining 50-day moving average. So I'm probably going to stay away from that one because it's so close. This one I like. This one is fighting, and technically it did close above the 50 today with a long bottoming tail. Sometimes those can be a head fake and a reversal, increase in volume. We'll go ahead and we'll mark this up. I'm going to mark this up above that prior candle 3 days ago. And we'll say we want to keep an eye on that one. You can tell the declining 20-day moving average has got a hold of that one. Nothing special there. This is getting kind of interesting, and there's a little bit of space where it could run. It's a high price stock, but I'm going to go ahead and just draw that very defined range right here. And maybe there's some follow through, but just be very much aware that this declining 50 is usually where these things are running out of steam. So if it takes one day, so be it. Make it a day trade. That's what I would say. IMAX. Oh, this looks good. I like IMAX. Again, same thing. I'm going to mark it up. I'm actually going to mark it up with a little bit of a head start, but just be very aware that these might be very short-term trades. As they hit a brick wall, you can usually maybe sell half if you don't want to let go of the whole position on something like that. Easy. That's a pharmaceutical. We'll stay away from pharmaceuticals. Save. We talked about this one, and I think somebody is actually long this one. Are you?
I did not buy it. I did
Not
not
buy it?
because it was on the close. I said I'd
Yeah.
watch it tomorrow. I really like the way that is setting up, and it's but
We're gonna
I
mark
didn't
that
grab
one
it
up.
today. Yeah.
Let me grab that a little better there. I'm gonna put it above today's high. Once again, though, as I mentioned earlier, now we're getting some real illustrations here. All these stocks have that same look. The declining 50 is just looming over the head. So these could be very short-term lived ideas. Something else just slipped in there while I was talking. That's pretty messy. We'll stay away from that one. That's not bad. I kind of like the sideways action. Let's just go ahead and make sure, in the interest of not missing it, we mark that one up. CF, that looks ugly. It can't get back above its 200-day plug. One of the old darlings from fourth quarter last year can't get above its 50, and there's not a lot of room to run, so we'll leave that one off. Not bad, but I don't like the volume. 47,000 doesn't cut it for me, and I can just tell looking at the chart, it's very spiky. It doesn't really have a lot of volume, so we'll pass on that one. And Jemiah can't get above the 50 there. Not a lot of room. We'll keep that one simple. Pass on that one. This one is interesting. Volume is okay. If it wants to make a move, it might try and do so tomorrow. We'll go ahead and pop a price alert in there. Nothing happening there. Nothing there. Oh, thank you for the reminder. LAZR. Okay.
Yeah, I did
So
buy that one.
sometimes
Didn't
I
like the close
give a couple of other names to keep an eye on. And LAZR and SENS, I completely forgot about those. Let's take a look at LAZR. And oh, it's got
Yeah,
spiky on
I
us.
didn't care for that close at all.
I'm still going to mark it up because I mentioned it, just in
Hey,
case.
it's still holding the 10.
It's still holding the 10,
Yep.
still holding the 20, but again, the looming 50 is just a
Hmm.
recurring pattern. What was the other one I mentioned? It looked interesting, and I don't think it closed that well. SCNS. No, it didn't. It gave an
Same
ugly
thing. Yeah.
reversal, and it actually technically closed below the rising 10. I'm going to give up on that one. Let's see what else we've got here. No, nothing special there. Patterson Energy. The looming 50 is right above it. Not a lot of room to run. Biopharma, you know, do what you want with it. I'll mark it up. That's a pretty important pivot level right there. We'll see what we can get from that. And as I'm getting close to the bottom here, guys, feel free to jump in and put in your stock symbols that you want me to look at. And again, we will be unbiased. We'll let you know if it looks good or if it doesn't look good. We'll do our best to try and give you an idea. So yeah, I'm going to pass on that one because that was retail, I think. And we're getting close to the bottom. We'll see how many we got. I think we got a good half dozen or so, some ideas. I see you all popping your names in there. This one doesn't look bad at all, actually. Let's end on this one right here. That's a pretty important looking pivot level. I love the sideways action. No real short float, socket mobile, volume's very thin.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
And that's what I'm going to do on this one. I'm going to actually make a note on that one. Was it, which one was it? Socket, S-O-C-K. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to edit my price alert and I'm going to remind you guys, low volume, confirm good volume if it goes. All right, so there's a good example of how to use the notes section. And the more notes you can make, the better. It's always nice to know, let your future self know what your current self was thinking when you marked these up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we'll just count them up like this. So I'm going to expand those, and we got 10 shareable selected price alerts. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste the price alerts into the chat. And if you're watching at home on the recorded version, just send us an email, and we will send these out to you tomorrow when you do ask for them. Price alerts and CloudLink. All right, so we got those going. Let me expand my window here, and we'll finish up with some quick looking charts. Okay, NVAX, I believe, is the first one for Harish. NVAX, I didn't spell that right. Novavax. All right, nice looking chart. It's a little ahead of itself. Notice yesterday, Friday's candle, nice reversal, nice bottoming candle, peaking off of that 10-day moving average for the most part. Hopefully you're already long this. If you're not, you know, just be aware that it could run out of a little bit of steam and start to consolidate again. ROVR, Rover, Red Rover, that's what I would call this one. I think Red Rover might need one more day of consolidation, but usually it happens in the morning. So keep an eye on that 12 level or just above 12 level. If this thing wants to dip down in the morning, you might be able to find something there. It also looks like a new issue. So not a lot of data to work on. We barely have a 20-day moving average in there. Keep an eye on that. You know, it could want a little bit more give back, but notice it got up as high as 1561. It has nowhere to go, but really kind of give a little pullback. Boxel, that's an old name from last year as well too. What is Boxel looking like? Nice consolidation. Technically it closed above the 10-day moving average, so it's in play. It could jump off of here. It could make things tricky, but it's in clean air for the most part and good days of consolidation. There might be something good ahead for that one. CYBN. Decent consolidation. You can tell it got ahead of itself up there at 289. It looks like another new issue. Not a lot of data to work on, but ideally it holds that 10-period moving average. Looks like 250 is also kind of a line in the sand too. So hopefully it holds that 250-ish level for you. INVA. Okay, so this was actually a trade of the week on a short squeeze that didn't work. And it's trying to work. It broke through our backstop. Didn't quite touch the 50. It's getting tangled up here. I think the first thing we want to see is if INVA can reclaim that 20 again. Remember, it's got a giant short float. So this is the real story going on a not too big of a float. So if this thing gets action, don't lose sight of it. The short squeeze could very well come at any time, but it's trying. But you can see the 20-day moving average really hung it up. Viacom. Trying really hard to close above the 50. It's done it for a couple days in a row. I think you don't want to lose sight of it. It could have some room to go above 42.15-ish. Yeah, not bad.
Yep, that's where it keeps running into trouble, that 42 level. So if you can get above it and hold.
NNDM, I think I got that right. NNDM. And that 50 is dominating it. So like I said, in so many things that do break their trend and base and move up, hit that 50 like a brick wall. So it needs to get above that, but you got the two other moving averages working on it. Maxar. Yeah, it's same kind of story. It needs to get back above that 50-day. It's still making lower highs for the moment, but keep an eye probably on that 30-50 level. We got a time for a few more. ROL and AMD. Big give back today. Might have a little bit of more follow through tomorrow, but don't give up that 20. AMD on the semiconductor side might be ready to go. That looks very nice. Same thing I mentioned with the SMHs. You know, you probably want to maybe even set a price alert right above that candle. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea, but that's looking much better than the other one you gave. R-Core. Can't do anything with that.
Need more data.
Oops, ROVR, I think was your second one.
Oh, we already did Red Rover.
We already did that one, yes, thank you. Did we already do NVAX too?
Yeah,
We did NVAX too, okay. Coin, C-O-I-N, coin was looking good until what happened today, but look at where it found buyers, literally to the penny, right on the 10-period moving average. Maybe it can build off that, you know, see what happens in the coin market. Microchip, I'm anticipating a good one here because it's a semi. And it does look good. Very nice consolidation, working off that big move from 145 to 160, sideways action. And look at that, the 10-day moving average caught it today. So if the SMHs have a good day, AMD and Microchip should do well. The Google Doc is mine, Jennifer. The Google Doc really translates into the trade of the week. If you're not signed up for the trade of the week email, you will get that. But I'm the one who composes that on the weekend and submit it for review. Let's see. AMC. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because in hindsight, I almost wanted to add this one to also keep an eye on because going into the weekend, that's what it looked like. And if I had seen that, I would have added it to my Google Doc, you know, along with Lazar and SENS. Looks very good, bounced off there. Definitely keep an eye on AMC tomorrow. You guys might even want to put a price alert in there above that 48.37. All right, a couple more, then we'll bring in Scott. UPST. Very nice looking trend following the moving average, but it might be ready for some consolidation, so just be prepared for that. Be big, I've seen this name a lot. I'm freezing up on that one. Give this a second here. This happens to me sometimes, especially when I'm broadcasting. All right, be big. Kind of a new issue, a lot of volatility here. It's just kind of in the middle of its range. Definitely strong, definitely had a strong close. I would be looking to try and set alerts on that 10-day. Maybe it washes down on the open. If it does touch that 10-day, it's a much better entry. All right, last one, we'll bring in Scott, MSCI. Type it again. MSCI, pretty good trend. Been a solid trend for a while. The air can get thin up here real quickly. You don't want to let this thing close definitely below that and certainly not below that. So just use those, a closing candle below those, and that would be your out. All right, so we took a look at Be Big as well. So I think we're all set. And I'm all talked out, and we'll bring in Scott for some closing announcements here. On mute, Scott. You're welcome, Abdullah. Anytime you're ready, Scott, you're on mute. He might be having some problems over there.
Yeah, he'll usually hit us up in Slack, and I'm not seeing anything.
Well, I'll go ahead and walk us out then.
Okay.
A free ebook written by Dave Mabe. I'll tell you what, it's very unusual to have a computer science person who's also a trader, and that's what Dave Mabe is. And so he's got some good information on that ebook you can find at that link down below. It's an ebook and it's free. Back to our regular 15% off coupons. Holly Rocks is really the one that you want to use for this month. It'll take 15% off your first month or your first year. What you can always do is you can try it for the first month, and if you want to apply it to the year, just let us know within the first 15 days, and we can do that. You want to get a hold of us, as I said, if you're watching this on YouTube in the evening and it's a recorded version and you have any questions or you want to get your hands on the price alerts that we sent out, just give us a holler at info@trade-ideas.com and it will be a support ticket that is created for you. So really all roads lead to info@trade-ideas.com. Best place to get a hold of us. All right, guys, thank you very much. And again, reminder, we'll see you back again in 2 weeks and we'll talk about 2 trades of the week at that time again. All right, take it
Thanks,
easy.
everybody. I will see you on Thursday.
Bye-bye.